What's up, everybody? It's your favorite invisible man's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Magic Square Mirage. This is on loan to me from Robert D, of course, who actually has some other legends en route to me as well. And I do have a versus lined up for Saturday with this, unless something else sort of pops up and takes precedent. But no need to waste a whole ton of time. Let's go ahead and talk about this guy, but in order to do so, we'll talk about accessories. He comes with an alternate face, which is like a smiling face. It's decoed the same way that we will get to when we get to the figure. The lips are sculpted very poorly. Very poorly. It looks doofy, doofy, doofy. He comes with a blue rifle. It's actually sculpted quite nicely. Not a lick of paint, but he will hold it just fine. He also comes with the over-the-shoulder rocket launcher with silver paint on the butt and on the missile itself, which is nice. And that pegs into his back, and as you can see, there's a peg on each side, so you can utilize each side. However, I will say, just due to the sculpt, it probably will work better on this side, but you can use either side. But see how it has a little bump out here? A little challenging due to just how little this thing is, but yeah, that works much better. But you can do either. We'll start with a close-up on the head sculpt for Dennis, and I think it's good. I sometimes think that Magic Square head sculpts can be a little too almost childlike, and not necessarily in a bad way, like maybe in like an acute way or whatever, but like this one is one of the better ones in my opinion. The eyes are painted with a metallic blue, and I think that's about all we got. The head is on a ball peg. You can get up a little bit. You can get down a little bit, which is nice and somewhat surprising given the kind of overall sculpt and presentation. You get the swivel and even a little bit of confused Mirage face. As for the shoulders, we'll back out a taste. As for the shoulders, they are on universals, so they come up to 90 degrees and they swivel around for your 360. We have these bits here, which do get out of the way for you on a hinge, which allows you to get a bicep swivel right above the elbow. So I guess theoretically you can get it even with this down for the most part, which is nice. Single hinged elbow that gets you a little bit past 90 degrees. Wrist swivel. No sculpted detail whatsoever. Same on this side. The deco here is nice, but we'll talk about that a bit more when we get to the alt mode. Then we have the body. I'm not sure how I feel about this baby blue color. It very well could be accurate. That's not necessarily what does it for me. It's kind of what ends up looking good, and I'm not sure that I particularly like it. Then we had the painted details. You have a little bit red and like is that a gray or a dark blue in there, which looks good enough. Waist swivel, ab crunch forward, pretty significant. Let's back out, brush them. Then we have universals for hips, somewhat unexpected. Let me get these hip skirts up and out of the way. Do these rotate as well? No. Okay. So that gets you out to there. So not the full Van Damme, but probably more than you would ever need. And then it rotates forward and nothing back, but you get the kick, which is really what you need. You don't really need this backward leg movement. Thigh swivel, built around the socket. We have a little bit of white paint around the lip, so to speak, of the pelvis, which is nice. Back out just a little bit more. We have a double jointed knee that gets you the full run. Once again, nice paint there. We'll talk about that a bit later. And then we have a toe tilt down, a toe tilt up, and an ankle rocker. So no issues there. So it's pretty much everything you need, you know what I mean? And then there he is from the back. Size comparison wise, there he is with the Magic Square Prime V1 as well as the New Age Megatron. So I'd say that's pretty accurate. I wouldn't ask for much more than that. There he is with Iron Factory Tarn, in case you were curious. And because we respect tradition here, there he is with Iron Factory Old School Scale Blaster and a Hasbro Stunticon. All right, let's get him transformed. Rotate the head 180 and flip it up. Rotate the waist 180. Come around here, drop down the hands, and then rotate them in. Close it back up. drop down the hands, rotate them in, close it back up, move these shoulder pads up to the top because we're trying to form like a block of each arm. So rotate the bicep and you get the full range of elbow here. It would have been nice if you got that up front as well. So that kind of forms a block there. And we're going to do the same on this side. All right, so and I might need a little bit more clearance here, honestly. We're going to lift up this chest piece here and we're going to flip the wheels out on both sides. We're going to flip these pieces down and there's these blue pieces of his flank. I'm going to grab a spudger just in case. These blue pieces to his flank, they need to rotate down as well. Be careful. All right, and then there's this slider. And great googa mooga, it doesn't allow for a whole lot of movement. But you got to swing these arms inside so that they sit sort of nice and flush. And then you can bring up the front end of the car. You have these pieces that'll fold down and around. Right? And then you have these pieces which are on hinges. And it might have been best to do that before I collapse the arms. But they come down and swing around to form the back side of the driver's compartment. And then you just got to work on tapping all that in and lining it all up, which I will do and not waste your time with. All right. So actually I found that if you push down on this piece here, it sort of helps align, but as you can see, mine's still a little bit frustrating right there. Okay, so let's get these out of the way. This whole piece here will sort of spin down. We can do that on both sides. Because this entire lower section sort of explodes and then reassembles. So we're going to take this piece and swing it out. There are 3 flaps, the one with the 26 and then 2 hanging off of it. Fold in flap 1, fold in flap 2. We're going to do that on the other side as well. Open this up, swing it out, fold in flap 1, fold in flap 2. At that point, we can bring these up. They're obviously going to form the sides. We have this piece here that flips over, which is pretty clever stuff because it like swings over the knee pad, which I do dig. All right. And then we're going to, okay, so these pieces slide up. Let's do our best to swing this piece up and over and this piece up and over just to sort of get everything where it's supposed to be. We're going to slide in these sections. The spoiler, let me back out just a taste. The spoiler will come up and over on the sides of the, and they will interlock. The feet swing all the way down to the opposite side so they fold towards the tire. And then the tires swing out. And then it's just a matter of tabbing all this stuff together with this magic square gummy plastic, which is, you know, not my favorite thing. And this is kind of exactly why. Let's see here. So there's tabs inside of this armature, one that goes into the hip, one that interlocks with the letters, and same on this side. so much grief. The engine blocks fold over as well. And I can't even move them. There's that one. These pieces underneath swing up and lock in to the forearm. And we're just going to keep toiling away. There's one. God bless, dude. There. That's basically it. Obviously, it needs some cleaning up, which I will do. And we will come back and take a look at it. So there it is. And I guess I have it as tight as it can be. It feels like it could get a little tighter here at the bottom. But for the most part, I think I've got it pretty close. And I think it's pretty successful. There's some gaps in here that are a little unsightly. So here, there, and it's possible that I could get that a little tighter, but it doesn't feel like it. You know, and even the way that this front end looks, I don't know. I like that there's a steering wheel. The paint is done nicely and looks good. You know, it's sharp. Even like the blue paint on the side of there looks pretty sharp and clean, which I dig. A lot of times stuff like that can look rough and kind of soft around the edges, but it looks pretty sharp. It rolls. You know, it does its job. It does its job well enough. There's nothing really all that exciting about it. It's a bummer that none of the accessories, at least as far as I can tell, sort of integrate into it. But what are you going to do other than show him next to Tiger Tracks? Tiger Tracks overpowers him, as he should, and all is right with the universe. Final thoughts-wise, we'll start with the negatives. Of course, the materials for me are always a negative. I'm not going to beat this dead horse to death. I've said in almost every Magic Square review as to why I consider them a negative. If you want more information, literally consult any other of them. But they're too soft and gummy, and it causes for a somewhat fiddly experience. My other big gripe is the way they did the shoulders. So because the hinge is at the base of the shoulder and there's nothing at the shoulder itself, you can't ever get the arm in an outward movement. Like, I want his arm out here to be swinging out this way for the rifle, but you can't do that because the hinge for the shoulder movement is in the chest as opposed to in the shoulder, and that's just never the best way to do it. Lastly, I don't like the choice of color for the place behind the white chest. Now, I looked up the G1 model and I see obviously what they're going for, but it's just not the right color. It's not as blue as it is on the figure. It's not white, but it's not as blue, so I'm not crazy about that as well. Also, there's, you know, I hate, like, I really hate being a broken record man, but like the transformation is actually pretty smart, but because the materials are made out of gummy bears that have been recycled and processed, it ends up being somewhat frustrating when trying to get stuff to tab in, that it ends up pushing other stuff out of the way or untabbing other stuff, etc., etc. And I wish that the accessories had options to integrate into alt mode, and maybe there are and I just missed it, which is fine. If that's the case, strike that from the record, but otherwise, keep it on. Positives wise, there's plenty to offer. It's a solid sculpt to include a better head sculpt than usual. Now, to be fair, the alternate one isn't great, but the standard one is good. Not a ton of paint, but where it is painted is incredibly sharp and clean. All those letters down the side of his arm and shoulder pads, etc., as well as the accents along the way. Like I said, not a ton, but what's there is pretty much spot on perfect. And the articulation gets you everything that you need. There's some stuff where you wish you could get maybe a little bit more, namely in the elbows, a little bit in the hips, but for the most part, you get everything that you need. You don't want a whole lot more. Along with that, he comes with the appropriate accessories that integrate well. You know, I just wish that the accessories integrated into alt mode as well as robot mode, I guess is what I should have said there. And honestly, I can't stress enough, man, like the transformation's really kind of smart and clever and new and unique and fresh, and I dig all of that. I really do. I just wish that the process of it was a bit more enjoyable with things moving smoothly and sort of locking in properly, and it doesn't do it as well as you would expect, and the only reason why is because of that thing that we're not going to beat a dead horse about. But that being said, if you're into the line and you don't mind all the issues and stuff that I've pointed out that are sort of present with prior releases, this one is as good, if not better, than most. And as a result, I can recommend him with good conscience. Because there really is some fun, clever, unique stuff going on, and he does perform his job fairly well. So I hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.